right, so welcome everyone to the Ohio School Design Manual website overview webinar. This webinar will walk you through the new OSDM website, which hosts a simplified, easily accessible version of the newly updated design manual. Questions can be asked via chat and will be answered at the end of the training. If you have any additional questions after this webinar, please fill out the question form on the website. And during the training, we will be showing you where to access that question form. This webinar is being recorded and will be shared on the OFCC website if you would like to reference it in the future. So our speakers today are Melanie Drerup, Chief of Planning, Dean Clouse, Planning Manager, and I'm Annalise Bennett, Education and Outreach Coordinator, and I am hosting the webinar. So now I will hand it off to Melanie to talk about what is the OSDM.
Thank you, Annalise. Good morning. We are excited to showcase the newly launched Ohio School Design Manual, or OSDM website. The purpose of the OSDM is to provide positive learning environments for students and staff, reduce design time, ensure parity in design options for districts, and balance statewide standards and local flexibility. I don't know how many of you recall back in 1997 when we were considering developing these guidelines, and we were looking, should we just have standardized plans or should we have guidelines? Of course, we know what happened. We landed on guidelines so that we could have that local flexibility. The process for the update included listening. In June of 2022, the Commission held 6 listening sessions to understand our users' needs. These listening sessions helped us establish the goals for the update. The primary goals for the update include review and modify the current document, so standards that we reference are current, condense, communicate visually, accessibility, and making our future updates easier. As Annalise mentioned, we are going to ask that you use the chat feature to ask questions, and we will address your questions at the end of this presentation. We will begin our journey on the home page. Just so you have your bearings as we begin, I will describe the layout of the page. The top navigation contains about the OSDM, current OSDM, popular resources, archive, and then on the very far right, there is a contact and a search feature. I'm going to go down to the bottom. We're going to take care of the top and the bottom at the beginning. So we have in the footer current OSDM, resources, archives, space plates, cost set data, technical specs. And then if you'd like to go to the OFCC website from here, there's a link to do that. Now we're going to head back up to the top of the page. This page provides a link to the current OSDM in the banner. The cards below provide some links to some important areas of the site, the photo gallery, PK-12 space plates, and the program of requirements. The next banner provides the educational planning guide, and it has the link to what you know as the 2023 planning guide. Later this year, we will begin the planning for the web-based educational facility planning guide. We're really excited about that, and we hope that many of you will participate and assist us in that development. So if you have questions after today's presentation, you'll simply click on Contact Us, or up at the top of the page, the Help feature, and you'll arrive at this screen. And then you'll be able to select from a variety of items to ask questions about. You simply fill out your name, your email, and provide a message, and we will get back to you as quickly as we can. At the bottom of the page, you can navigate through chapters 1 through 10. We have concluded the first stop on our journey. Our next stop will be about the OSDM. This page provides a description of the Ohio School Design Manual. There is also a description of the variance process if the project team would like to utilize a material or a system not listed in the manual. The next stop on our journey is the current Ohio School Design Manual. This page provides an overview of the Ohio School Design Manual. Above the overview at the top of the page, there is a short video describing the process used to develop the OSDM. And, you know, if you get bored on a Friday night, take a look at it, enjoy some popcorn. I'm sure you'll be entertained. A short description and a link are also provided for the Educational Facility Planning Guide. This is followed by the summary and links for each of the 10 chapters in the OSDM. A link to the archives, if you're looking for the 23 or the 22 version or some other version, you can use this button to get to that area. And then also another way to contact us. Okay, now we're going to move on. And on the left side, we can navigate to the chapters 1 through 10 on the left navigation bar. Our next stop is chapter 1, Introduction. This page provides an executive summary. You can find topics that were previously addressed in this chapter shown on the cards at the bottom of the page. We have the overview of planning, design, and construction process, and this topic covers the roles of each of the team members and each of the phases of the project from planning to closeout. The Ohio School Design Manual organization provides an overview of each of the 10 chapters. Project delivery method comparison, the topic covers each of the methods and what you should consider when making a selection. Cost information, of course, this topic provides a list of eligible, non-eligible expenses, an overview of how the costs were developed, original cost map, the current cost charts for both K-12, career tech, and the assessment cost guidelines. Definitions and abbreviations, of course, cover just that, definitions and abbreviations. Next up on our journey, Chapter 2. Chapter 2, Programming. This page introduces programming, which establishes the overall square footage required for a student population. In 2023, there were 11 program requirement templates. The POR templates have been condensed to 3. There are 2 cards on this page, K through 12, school programming, and career tech school programming. Each of these pages includes a description of the programming. We're going to take a look at the K through 12 school programming. So about halfway down the page, you'll see the program of requirements for both the K-12 and the comprehensive K-12, as well as an example workbook. The example workbook includes example programs for a range of building sizes and grade configurations. Below the PRR links, you will find a description of grade groupings, gross square foot allowances, which allow, you have links there to determine if I have an elementary of 350 square feet, how many square feet will I be allowed? Also, program area considerations and workbook instructions. The OSDM tolerance policy, extended learning areas, details provided on measurement and area calculations for things such as corridors, stair landings. And then also there are information below on variance, requesting variance for material systems or square footage. We now are going to get to the exciting part, which is the POR Excel chart. If you're building something, you want to, of course, look at instructions. You know, you don't want to build something and then find out you have extra parts. Well, because you probably don't have extra parts, you just missed something in the instructions. And so now you maybe have a faulty product. So we want to make sure when we use this POR instrument that we follow the instructions. Your first act will be to put in population for elementary, middle, or higher, whichever grades you are serving. And then the summary workbook, you're familiar with that. And then this detailed summary, we're pretty excited about adding this worksheet because it will generate, based on the information you put in the information and instruction, the number of lockers, bleachers, teaching stations, as well as parking spaces. The tab also provides information on how much space should be considered for the academic area, administrative spaces, physical education, and then the food service, custodial, and building service area. The next stop is the academic core. We're going to take a look at AC3, which is simply a classroom. Now you will note there is no designation for that being an elementary. It doesn't have an indication of E, M, high school, career tech. And so this is simply a classroom. Now, of course, there are differences between an elementary and a high school classroom. Those will be noted on the space plate. And this allowed us to reduce the number of space plates we have in the manual by a significant amount. Now you'll notice in the columns that there are space to capture the number of elementary classrooms you need, the new number of new middle school, new high school. And then if you're working with the combination of new square foot and existing, you'll be able to use that existing column for elementary, middle, and high. And let's not forget, we also have career tech to consider. So it has a space for new career tech and existing career tech. So now we're going to go back to chapter 2. We're going to take a look at the career tech programming. This page provides an overview for preparing the program requirements for a career tech school. Topics covered include whole building considerations, allocating building square feet. You'll see that there are PORs just as there were for K-12. And we also are still working on the program square foot because we met with our career tech community, and based on their recommendation, we have moved the ratio for high bay labs from 25:1 to 50:1, which of course impacted our lab sizes, which we've captured. And then, but it does require the revision of the max lab square footage. So that is coming soon, but it's not quite there. Okay, next stop, chapter 3, School site. This page provides an overview for site selection criteria, site design, how to deal with differing requirements at state and local levels, resources from the Ohio Department of Education, and then there are 8 resources, including site design introduction, vehicular circulation, parking, other circulation considerations, building footprint considerations. Are you building a 2-story, a single story? Those have different considerations. Physical education facilities and recreation, playgrounds, landscaping, and site furnishings. Next up, Chapter 4. Safety and security. We all know how important this is to our students and our staff in our school buildings. Previously, guidance for safety and security was discussed throughout the manual, but we thought it was important to have a chapter dedicated to this very important topic. This new chapter page provides information on layering design, technical information for layer considerations, and additional safety and security documents. We're going to take a look at the layer design. Those layer design topics include information on past Partner Alliance for Safer Schools, guidelines, and then CEPTED, crime prevention through environmental design. A link is provided for the site and safety design checklist to assist in the design of a safe and secure school. This checklist includes 5 layers of consideration: district-wide, property perimeter, parking lot perimeter, building perimeter. I like that word, perimeter. Classroom interior perimeter. Each layer is discussed in detail on the bottom half of the page. We're going to focus our attention on the district-wide layer, building access, technology and power considerations, including cameras, first responder discussions on including door and window security signage, which is critical when our first responders have to come to our building, and communication dead zones are covered. Now next stop will be Chapter 5, PK through 12 space plates. This chapter page includes a link to the introduction, which can be found in the banner, as well as on the first card, Chapter 5 Introduction. The introduction includes spatial relationship diagrams, the chapter organization overview, and general information about the space plates. The chapter organization provides information on what the user can expect to find on the space plates, which include a 3D image, floor plan, and a data sheet, which lists all the material requirements. Cards or links are provided at the bottom of this page for all space plates. We're going to take a look at the academic core spaces. And we looked at AC3 on the POR, so we're going to do the same here. So AC3 is the general classroom. Up at the top, you'll see there are those relationship diagrams. And then we have axonometric views to make it easier for folks to understand the space. We have it going from both directions. We also have the floor plan that you're familiar with new crisp lines and nice new layouts. And then we also have what you're all familiar with is the data sheet. Now it's arranged just a little bit differently than what you've seen in the past. but I think you're going to find it very easy to use. Okay, now we are going to navigate back to the academic course bases using the left navigation. And then we're going to go to chapter 6. And that is, of course, career tech space plates. And it does, similar to our K through 12, has an introduction, which is found in the banner, as well as the first card. And then it has a card for each of the program types, program type 1 through 7, and then all the support spaces that are necessary that aren't included in a program area are in this program type S. Now, I am going to pass this navigation to Dean, who will guide you on your journey, starting with the next stop, chapter 7. Thank you.
Thank you, Melanie. It's been quite a journey so far. Chapter 7, Sustainable Design. This chapter presents guidelines for meeting the intent of OFCC Resolution 07124, adopting LEED Silver certification as a minimum standard for all OFCC projects and providing a source of proven ideas and concepts for achieving this certification. The U.S. Green Building Council developed the LEED rating system. It is a nationally recognized system. 14 LEED-specific resource cards, as seen below, feature such things as sustainability, resources and rating system, integrated design, cost analysis information for sustainability, solar-ready schools and solar design, and skipping down, one of our favorites, gigabit passive optical networking, also known by its nickname GPON, and specifications for sustainable design. To focus in, we're going to look at the daylighting. Daylighting considerations are important, not only in supporting LEED initiatives, but are also crucial considerations in the creation of learning environments to help assure students have adequate access to natural daylight in classrooms. The minimum glazing requirement has been increased from 5% of floor area to 10%. Also included in Chapter 7, OSDM for the first time has an introduction to WELL, a rating system focused exclusively on the impacts of building environments on human health and wellness. WELL was created by the International Well Building Institute and is third-party verified. Although not required, OFCC recognizes the value of well building standards in optimizing student health and happiness within the built environment. Next up, Chapter 8, Systems and Materials. This chapter provides a design standard and level of quality for the systems and materials to be incorporated into new buildings for the State School Building Assistance Program, including CFAT, ENP, and ELP. Areas of focus include systems, materials, design codes and standards, design for safety and security, and reference back to Chapter 4, our new chapter that focuses on safety and security. Includes energy usage, technology coordination to help ensure that classrooms and buildings are designed with integrated technologies to best support education. New content includes life cycle and cost comparison for HVAC systems, interior flooring systems, electric metering, roofing materials, and exterior envelope materials. Here you can see the HVAC system comparison of life cycle costs. For 8 different types of systems noted across the top, we also include, we include packaged commercial rooftop units. And the reason for that is when we go to the vertical column, we're scrutinizing OSDM compliance, and our rooftop friends get a no. They are not compliant. So it not only includes what we do allow, but also what is not. Other things considered are lifespan, efficiency, the installed cost, maintenance cost, and perhaps if there are rebates available. What this information does is provides a seat at the table for some of our districts and others that aren't quite as well versed in the technical aspects of building, design, and construction, and makes the information readily available. Next, we're moving on to Chapter 9, Specifications. The OSDM Comprehensive Update retained a chapter dedicated to specifications. The intent of adjustments made to this chapter is to make OFCC's expectations and requirements clear without being prescriptive. The specifications are not intended to be copied verbatim and utilized as bid documents, but rather used as a starting point, a reference for design professionals as they draft and write specifications for their bid documents. OFCC's approach in updating specifications was to include both performance descriptions and reference standards. Performance descriptions are statements of required results with criteria for verifying compliance, but without unnecessary limitations on the methods for achieving the required results. Reference standards are requirements established by industry, accepted criteria, authority, custom, or consensus. Chapter 9 makes no attempt to establish specifications that are based on proprietary specifications or identifying products by manufacturer, brand name, model number, type designation, or other unique characteristics.
Well, Dean, I'm intrigued by this search function, so I'm gonna see if I put HVAC in here, what comes up. I hope HVAC items will come up. Well, look at that. Common work results for HVAC piping. That is fantastic. That will ease our work in trying to figure out what systems we might be able to use.
Indeed. From here, we're going on to Chapter 10, our final chapter, Resources. To best support those utilizing OSDM for planning and design, a collection of resources can be readily accessed here in Chapter 10. These resources include State of Ohio standard forms and documents that support workflow processes. Among those are concept development forms, procurement forms, design forms, construction forms, post-construction forms, and other miscellaneous forms. Among those are included change orders, closeout calculators, public bid advertisements, and edge requirement checklists. Links for another final category in Chapter 10 are links to reference materials. You will notice once you get more familiar with the website and looking through chapters 1 through 10, of course, there are references and they're collected here for convenient access for research and sharing with others. Another item included in Chapter 10 is image galleries. It's a collection of reference images that have been gathered and organized by categories. OFCC is interested in collecting and growing this cache of images to share with anyone interested in seeing particular aspects of work OSDM governs. If you would like to make image contributions, OFCC has a link for your convenience.
And is that link in the chat, Dean, or could it be photos at ofcc.ohio.gov?
Yes, I have posted that email in the chat. So it is an email that anyone can send photos of their schools if they would like to help us build this image gallery. You can send photos to the email that I put in the chat.
And now we'll hand it back to Annalise for questions.
Yes, so if anyone has questions, we will now be answering questions in the chat, and we will answer questions in the order we receive them. I did notice a question during the training from Jeff Parker from SHP. He was wondering, regarding the POR tool, have the historically broken cells been repaired or should we still confirm the formulas?
That's a good question, Jeff, and I believe that we still have to rely on the master plan that comes from the construction management website or CMW, but all links should be working on the PORs.
Great, thank you, Melanie. Does anyone else have any questions in the chat? Feel free to ask questions now. We'll be answering them for the remainder of the session, or if there's not any questions, then we can end the webinar early. But it's up to everyone. If you have any questions, please ask now.
I've got a question.
Yes.
Are there any new space plates added?
Well, Dean, I'm glad you asked that question because in fact, there are new space plates. We have space plates not only in our K through 12 arena, but we also have new space plates in our career tech, such as in the veterinary science, we have a surgery, we have x-ray, we have in what is called, we're going to go to chapter 5 here. We also in advanced manufacturing have a clean room. And then we also have added a few spaces in the specialized support spaces. Some of those are this sensory room, I believe occupational and therapy room, and then it's a small group study instruction space.
Very good. That will be helpful. Thanks.
We also have another question from the chat from SHP. They asked, was the increase from 5% to 10% glazing for all spaces or just classrooms?
The 10% is primarily in the classrooms. That is our area of focus.
Excellent. Thank you, Melanie.
Is the new OSDM website digital version compatible with phones and tablets?
Dean, it is. That was one of the main reasons we wanted to go to this website format so that you could have a nice light phone instead of a 2,400-page document that you can carry around with you. And, if you got bored or you're waiting at your doctor's office, you can pick up your phone and take a look.
Very convenient.
We also have another question from the chat from Mark Sebrian, asking a question regarding OSDM updates. Will this manual still be primarily updated annually or will it be updated throughout the year?
Thanks for the question. We will primarily still do an annual update. Now, of course, if something occurs during the middle of the year and we feel that it is necessary, we will make an update to the manual. But our intent is that we would have a 2025 website update.
Excellent.
Melanie, how will these archived websites or archived versions of the manual be saved and accessed?
Well, our early versions will be just as they are on our original OFCC site and the PDF format that they are now. But moving forward from 2024, they will be in this new website format.
Very good. And convenient.
Yes.
Who has access to the website?
Well, everyone does, Dean. That was one of our big things was the accessibility. As you'll recall from our listening sessions, we wanted to make sure everyone, students, staff, parents, community members, leaders, of course, our architects and constructors and staff.
We also received another question from the chat from Todd Winters. They asked, package rooftop units are no longer acceptable. Is that facility-wide or just for classroom and office space?
The package units have, they've not been acceptable. We want the HVAC units to be accessible to our maintenance men so that they can get those filters changed. So we try not to utilize any rooftop units or packaged units.
What are some of the most significant improvements?
Dean, I think a significant improvement is the reduction of the number of PORs from 11 to 3. That was a lot to maintain and a lot for our architects and districts to utilize. I think also the consolidation of the space plates was very beneficial. The movement of our natural daylight from 5% minimum to 10% minimum. You know, like during these difficult budget times, we know where we were getting cuts. And so we were landing right at the minimum 5%. And we want to have more daylight in our classrooms.
Annalise, do you have any more questions?
I let people know, there are a few people that had their hands raised. So I let them know that if they have a question, please ask it in the chat, since everyone attending the webinar, you have your cameras and mics muted. So you can only ask questions in the chat. So please use the chat function for any additional questions.
To access the site, since this is fresh, still hot off the front burner, our friends at Google have not quite caught up. So to access the site until it has a little more lifespan, it's listed in the chat, a link to be able to look at the website. It's officially open and functioning.
Yes, and we did notice that if you Google the OSDM website, you may not see it when searching it up on Google or a search engine. That is just because the website is so new. It might take some time for it to show up, but we are working on that, on getting that to show up in the search. But for now, if you ever want to access this website, please just type in the URL directly, and it'll just take you right there. osdm.ofcc.ohio.gov. Not seeing, oh, there is one more question in the chat that just came in from Chuck Barty. Is there a variance request process in place?
There is a variance request process in place. And as I noted about the OSDM, there is information about the variance process there under helpful materials and systems. And it is also, I believe, in Chapter 2 programming that there is a section when we click on K through 12 programming, down at the very bottom, there are variance requests for OSDM systems, materials, and square footages. You can access the tool there.
We also just got 2 additional questions in the chat. The first one is from Brian Straka. With the desire to create a well building and other criteria, has there been any consideration of building with structural insulated panels for its continuous insulation benefits?
Certainly, that's a consideration. And if it isn't currently in the manual, you could use the variance request to get that in front of us. And we're pretty facile at working through those requests and can get an answer back to you.
The other question is from Jeff Parker again from SHP. He asked, the old PORs had example brackets for many of the tabs. Is there a similar function in the new PORs?
Actually, Jeff, we have taken out the examples. And I believe we just have included those in the example workbook. And so you'll find a wide range of examples in that link.
Excellent. I'm not seeing any additional questions in the chat at the moment, so I don't know if we want to press anything else or wait for some additional questions.
We did include also individual restrooms and the programming, and there's also a space plate for that. So if you are wanting to utilize individual restrooms as opposed to group restrooms, that is available to you.
Thank you.
I know many of you listening likely helped us pull this all together over the past 2 years. Certainly want to express gratitude to you for that. And it's by no means a terminal project. We'll continue to improve and make adjustments. So feel free to send us comments and ideas that can be added and expanded in the website.
And the site just launched on Thursday, the 21st. And so you may run across things that don't seem quite right to you. Please, send a contact form and share that with us, because we're going through here with a fine-tooth comb, and we want to make sure the site is the best it can be, and we need all of your help to make sure that that is true. So we definitely, as Dean mentioned, we thank you for all your assistance in the last couple of years as we were putting this together. Thank you so much. We could not have done it without you.
Thank you, everyone. And if you had a question that went unanswered, or if you think of a question after this webinar and you would like to ask, as we mentioned, please fill out the contact form. You can access it on the homepage, but also anytime you're on the OSDM website, that little contact button that's shown here, you can always click on that. Sometimes it will say help, sometimes it will say contact, but it will always take you to that form where you can ask a question. So please utilize that function. Are you seeing any additional questions in the chat, or do you think we're?
I think we can give them back 16 minutes of their time.
All right.
And we thank you so much again.
Thank you all.
Yes, thank you everyone for attending. We also posted on this page, there is that photos@ofcc.ohio.gov email. And as we mentioned, please send photos if you are able to of your facilities to this email, because we are always looking to build our portfolio of photos. And we really appreciate any contribution that you can make. Thank you, everyone.